Okay, remember that the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you read the questions and answer choices at least for one of the passages before you start reading or listening to a passage. So question 9, let's see, talks about passage 2, so we're going to skip that one. And let's see. All right, finally, passage 1, question 12. In passage 1, how does President Nixon develop the idea that the energy crisis should not result in any serious hardships for any American families? Okay, so if we, oh, there's no highlight one on that one. Okay, so is it by, let's see, develop the idea that should not cause any hardships for the American family. All right, is it by stating the hours when gas stations will be closed, by outlining the plan to increase the supply of heating oil, by describing the progress the country has made by reducing speed limits, or by providing examples that show the everyday effects of station closures? All right, so we'll be looking for that as we read and listen to Richard Nixon's speech in passage 1. Let's see. Do we have any other questions on passage 1? All right, this one. What argument does President Nixon make in passage 1? Is the argument people must make sacrifices to help the government deal with the crisis, or following the president's plan will bring an end to the energy crisis? Driving on weekends was a factor that caused the energy crisis, or America will be better prepared for another crisis in the future. So you want to focus in specifically for that and try to determine what's his main argument. What's his main point that he's trying to get across in his speech? Okay, which 2 arguments in passage 1 are supported by evidence? It's one thing to say something, it's another thing completely to give proof for that evidence. So is it reducing the temperature in homes and offices will keep people warm through the winter? The American people's cooperation will be key to the overall success of the plan. President Nixon is taking the necessary steps to move his plans forward. Operating cars at certain speeds will save gasoline. Closing gas stations will result in less driving. So as we're listening and reading, you might want to be taking notes in your notebook. And if you come across one of these, jot it down, maybe what the paragraph that it's in, so that when you hit this question again later, you'll know or you'll remember. That's passage 2. And this one's both speeches, so we'll come back to that one later. All right, so let's go over to the passage. All right, so it looks like this one's going to have some audio, so let's see what it says here. In 1973, some members of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, banned petroleum exports to the United States and introduced cuts in oil production. As the price of oil rose sharply in 1973, President Richard Nixon addressed the American people to explain the steps the people and the government would take to deal with the emerging energy crisis. So passage 1 is the address to the nation about national energy policy, November 25th, 1973, by Richard Nixon. Listen to the following speech given by Richard Nixon on March 25th, 1973. So let's see if this works.
I am announcing tonight the following steps to meet the energy crisis. First,
see if I can make that a little louder.
to increase the supply of heating oil that will be available this winter, we must adjust production schedules and divert petroleum, which might normally go for the production of gasoline, to the production of more heating oil. To accomplish this, the amount of gasoline which refiners distribute to wholesalers and retailers will be reduced across the nation by 15%. As we reduce gasoline supplies, we must act to ensure that the remaining gasoline available is used wisely and conserved to the fullest possible extent. Therefore, as a second step, I am asking tonight that all gasoline filling stations close down their pumps between 9 p.m. Saturday night and midnight Sunday every weekend, beginning December 1. We are requesting that this step be taken voluntarily now. Upon passage of the emergency energy legislation before the Congress, gas stations will be required to close during these hours. This step should not result in any serious hardship for any American family. It will, however, discourage long-distance driving during weekends. It will mean perhaps spending a little more time at home. This savings alone is only a small part of what we have to conserve to meet the total gasoline shortage. We can achieve substantial additional savings by altering our driving habits. While the voluntary response to my request for reduced driving speeds has been excellent, it is now essential that we have mandatory and full compliance with this important step on a nationwide basis.